I see some people are hopping on. Just so you know, I'm going live here for just a few minutes to give any support that the people need that have decided to participate in my 3-day collective consciousness challenge. So hello to everyone who's joined. So if you are doing my 3-day collective consciousness challenge, will you let me know, please, in the comments? Hi, Simon. Hey, Julie. So how many of you are, so Simon, okay, you literally just came across it. Okay. Hey, Jetstream, thank you. Okay, so I'll tell you just a little background as to why I woke up yesterday and had an epiphany about launching this 3-day collective consciousness challenge, because I don't know if you guys were impacted negatively or positively by the Mercury retrograde. It was back in March, but I was, and it just really, some things happened. It was chaotic, and it really stirred up some irritability. And irritability is one of the main emotions that really does attract energies that are just low, toxic people, places, and things. And if irritability is felt for extended periods, and yes, Wendy, you are 100% correct. I will no longer ever downplay the power of a retrograde. And so when we feel irritable for extended periods, we tend to engage in the 3 C's. And if you guys don't know what the 3 C's are, it's condemning, criticizing, and complaining. So who's guilty of doing that? Okay. I think that all of us are guilty of doing that from time to time, but it's important that we break the habit of immediately jumping to that as our go-to. We got to break that habit, because criticizing, condemning, and complaining, it really does cause our energetic vibration to bottom out, and the universe responds to that by giving us negative experiences that we don't want. And those experiences come in the form of people, places, and things. And so basically, when we are condemning, criticizing, and complaining, we're not hurting the person that we're criticizing or condemning or complaining about. We're hurting ourselves, because the universe is responding to those types of thoughts and that type of language and those actions. And we just really have to be keenly aware of what we're thinking, doing, feeling, and saying all the time. And if you followed me for any amount of time, you know that I'm not perfect. Don't want to be. There's no such thing. Hang on just one second. ADs, okay, I never see you on live. I love your content. Do you go live on a regular basis? No, I don't, but I am about to start doing that more. It's just like, it's not that I don't want to. I actually, anytime I go live, I really do enjoy it. It's just a time factor, and it just seems to fall through the cracks. But I plan on going live more often, especially if you guys would like for me to do that. So, and Jessica, oh, thank you. I love you too. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you. That's inspiration for me. Hey, I need inspiration too. And so back to this 3-day challenge that we've got going on. And so it's all about breaking the habit of not being so comfortable with condemning and criticizing and complaining, and for us to get into the habit of replacing those behaviors with something that serves us just a little bit better, because those behaviors don't serve us at all. So if you're just jumping on, I am talking about this 3-day collective consciousness challenge that I'm doing. And so if you haven't jumped on board yet, you can go to my page. I posted a video about it yesterday with some details, and I'll be posting another video later today. And then I'm here with you live and in living color right now to talk about it. So, oh, and thank you, Jessica. I love your explanation of angel numbers and their meaning. Thank you. Oh, you're using my 15-minute meditation. That's awesome. Wonderful. Wonderful. I love that meditation. I sometimes use it myself because usually I don't have any trouble with envisioning something that I'm wanting to attract, but sometimes I have a hard time conjuring up those emotions that are associated with what I want to attract. And so that 15-minute meditation is freaking great for helping you conjure up those emotions. A lot of people say that they cry when they do it. And I know that I have certainly done that in the past, especially when I get really excited about something and get those feel-good vibes going. So, oh, and if you're curious, if you don't know about this meditation that I'm talking about, it's on my website, paulaswope.com. You can go to my profile here, and all my social media links are right there in my link tree, so it's easy to find. All right, so about this 3-day challenge. If you're doing this challenge, I just want to give you some support here and point out some things that might help you get through these next 72 hours as successfully and effectively as possible. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. Nothing's perfect. Don't try to be perfect. Forget that. It ain't happening. We're not perfect, okay? All right, so there are like so many keys to success and to breaking those bad habits that cause us to attract things that we don't want. But I was thinking about it this morning, and I can basically sum all that up into one thing. It's commitment. We've got to be committed to doing whatever it is that we want to do. And so with this 3-day challenge, we must commit to being people that do not condemn, criticize, and complain. And I promise you, when we make that type of commitment, and it's just a commitment to being a better human being, the universe will rise up and it will support our commitments. I promise you that. The universe really does have our back. It does. And it never says no. That's the funny thing. It never says no. Although sometimes it feels like that the universe is telling us no, but it's really ourselves telling us no, because it's the criticizing, the complaining, and the condemning that brings on the no or the lack or us not getting what it is that we really want, okay? So I am absolutely committed to ditching criticisms of any kind, and I'm much better than I used to be. And I just want to point that out because a lot of people have commented that they criticize themselves, and part of putting a dead halt on that criticism ties into that. I used to self-sabotage with criticisms, and I don't criticize myself as harshly as I used to anymore, if at all. So I'll stop and let me take a look at some of your comments here. Oh, angel numbers. Yeah. How many numbers in a row count as an angel number? Listen, they don't even have to be in a row. Here's how you're going to know. Okay. A lot of us focus on them coming in threes because that's pretty common. 111, 222, 333, those. But if you have a number that pops up consistently, like if you are in the checkout line at the grocery store and you just happen to look up and somebody's got a number 9 on the back of their jersey, and then you walk outside and you look up and there's a sign and the number 9's on there and the number 9 is standing alone, then that's synchronicity. That's an angel number. It doesn't have to be in 2s or 3s or 4s or whatever. It's just the numbers that you see most consistently. And it's those numbers that just pop up. I mean, they're so blatantly obvious that there's no other explanation as to why you're seeing those. So I hope that answers your question. Rainbow Bride, I always see 1111. Yeah, me too. Me too. And that's a great one to see because what that means is your thoughts are manifesting rapidly. And so you want to watch what you're thinking about. And when you see that one sequence pop up, especially if it's popping up a lot, you might want to stop and think about what you're doing in that moment, how you're feeling, what you're thinking about, who you're with, things like that, because that divine guidance is coming in, and every piece of guidance we get from the divine is right on time and perfect. It's never wrong. And so you want to make sure that you're aware of what you're doing and aware of your surroundings when you see those number sequences. And that ties into all of them. It's not just number 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, just journal about that a little bit, and it will help you make some sense as to why you're seeing those. So I'll get back to the 3-day collective consciousness challenge. So out of those 3 C's, which one do you guys find yourself struggling with the most? Criticism, condemning, or complaining? You can just throw it all out there. Mine's definitely criticism. But when I think about it, they all go hand in hand. I mean, if we're criticizing, then although I'm not much of a complainer or a condemner, all 3 go hand in hand. If we're doing one, there's traces of the other 2. Julie says complaining. Well, let me ask you this, Julie. I tend to complain about shit that is stupid, that I have no control over, like the weather. So right now in Kentucky, it's almost 90 degrees outside, and it's October, it's fall. And I really don't like the heat. Well, what the hell can I do about it? And so I'm not much of a complainer anymore, because several years ago, when I was at the peak of my spiritual journey, I learned there's no need in complaining about something that I don't have any control over. It's just like criticizing another human being. I don't have any control over what they do. They have free will. And so coming to terms with things like this, that's what we need to do to break that habit. I see a lot of you saying criticizing myself. I used to do that too. Just keep in mind that it's like self-sabotage. And so when you're criticizing yourself, then you're basically asking the universe for those things. Danny's saying God gave us free will. Exactly. So use that free will to make a shift in your thinking. And when you want to criticize yourself, just keep in mind that when you do that, you're drawing more energy that matches that criticism. I used to be really, really, really overweight. I gained a whole lot of weight when I was in my early 20s. I went from like a size 6 to a size 16. Like my whole appearance changed. And that's what started my path of the self-sabotage and harshly criticizing myself. And every single time that I would, think that I hated the way I looked or whatever, I would gain more weight, even though I was doing everything in my power to lose it. But when I started thinking about myself differently, I was able to lose that weight and keep it off. And so there really is something to that. So when just, stop getting comfortable with criticizing yourself and choose. You can only think one thought at a time. Do you guys realize that? Like, this is something I recently learned from Deepak Chopra, because he is my professor. We can only think one thought at a time. And so when we jump to self-sabotage, criticizing ourselves, we need to have something on hand to immediately replace that thought. And so if you can just pick one thing about yourself that you really, really, really love, and there's got to be something, there's got to be something that you really, really love about yourself, no matter what it is, then immediately go to that instead of that criticism. Just replace that thought, just replace it. And as you keep doing that, the repetition of it, it'll start reprogramming you to think differently about yourself. That's how I did it, and it absolutely worked for me. It took me a while, but eventually it worked. And so I'm very, very careful to not criticize myself. I don't really criticize myself at all anymore, come to think of it. I just struggle with criticizing people, places, and things that tend to not suit me. I know it's bad, but again, none of us are perfect. So back to the 3-day collective consciousness challenge. So as we go through the next 72 hours together, I want you to use my profile as a safe space. And as I promised in the video that I posted yesterday, if anybody comes in with any derogatory remarks, I will block them immediately. There's no need really in people doing that on my profile, because it does not bother me, like, at all. It's just, I don't care. If somebody comes in and says something that's just absolutely asinine, it doesn't get under my skin, could care less. I don't even turn on the TikTok has got an option that you can, turn off triggering comments. I don't do that because I'm not triggered by them. I'm just not. So if anybody comes in and tries to infiltrate our feel good energy space, I'll block them. So you can feel safe in using my profile to, when you're tempted to criticize, condemn, or complain, then you can go in there with the go-to statement that I gave you yesterday in my video, which is, I'm better than that. I'm better than that. That's what you do. That's what you think and you say when you are tempted to engage in the 3 C's. And that is not an egotistical remark. When you say, I'm better than that, you're not saying that you're better than somebody else. That's not where I'm going with that. We're not better than anybody. We're all on equal playing ground here. But we are better than certain situations. Does that make sense? Danny says, I block many people in my life. She better believe it. I have too. Christian, the 3 C's that we're talking about right now, the 3 C's are condemning, criticizing, and complaining. And I have launched a 3-day collective consciousness challenge that started today. And several people are participating in it so they can try to break that habit of jumping to condemning, criticizing, and complaining, which are 3 behaviors that absolutely lower our energetic vibration and cause us to attract things that we don't want. So, anybody else have any questions right now? All right. I will keep giving you a little bit of coaching here to help you get through the next 72 hours as smoothly as possible, okay? So when we are trying to switch from lifelong negative behaviors to all of a sudden making a change to behaviors that serve us better, it can throw us for a loop a little bit, right? I mean, it's not like change can be easily implemented just like that. It takes some time and effort, and a lot of people that don't successfully make the changes don't want it bad enough. And so if you want something bad enough, you're going to go through 4 phases of change, and that's basically what we're doing here. Right now we're in the first phase, because we're changing, and the first phase is always the toughest. Now the first phase is like you're dissolving or kind of feeling a loss of identity. And I will give you an example of what I mean by that. So I used to smoke. I was never like a day-to-day smoker. I mean, it's not like I would go out and buy a pack of cigarettes every single day and smoke them. But when I would go out and about, bar hopping, happy hour, whatever, I would sit down, I'd smoke a pack of Marlboro Lights and feel like absolute crap the next day. And so when I used to smoke, I thought of myself as a smoker. And so that habit was a huge part of my identity. And when I decided to quit smoking, the first thing I did was I had to start seeing myself as a non-smoker. I had to disassociate with that old identity. And it was hard. And I mean, I fell back into that old habit 1,000 times, but eventually I quit. And it was one of the best things I ever did. And so now I'm kind of comparing those 2 things. It's exactly the same as breaking a habit of being a critical person. And so I've started seeing myself now as a non-critical person. And I've been working on that a lot here lately. And so then when you get through that first phase, you're going to move on to the second phase, and that's imagining, and that's where we envision ourselves, envisioning a new life for ourselves with our new identity. We need to think about, what we're going to be doing to fill that void, since we're giving up certain behaviors, right? It's just like when I used to be a smoker, the moment that I would crack open a beer, I don't drink beer anymore, but the moment I'd crack open a beer, that cigarette went hand in hand. And so I struggled for the longest time. What am I going to, what am I going to do? Because I know I'm going to want that cigarette when I crack open that first beer. And so that was like I was losing a part of my identity by giving up that one thing, which was the smoking. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. And I started envisioning myself as being somebody that didn't smoke when I drank beer or whatever. And so the exact same concepts are going to apply here. We're going to envision ourselves as being better human beings. We're going to envision ourselves as being people that don't criticize, condemn, and complain. Okay, that's what we're doing. So we need to start envisioning ourselves in that role. And this morning I was thinking, well, when I see someone do something that I don't agree with, how will I fill that void of not criticizing them, because I've been, so used to this in the past. And oh my God, I was tempted to criticize my husband this morning, because I was here in my office trying to get some stuff done. My kitchen's like that way, and so I can hear everything going on in the kitchen. And he was in there making a juicer, and he was making a metric shit ton of noise. And for a split second, I wanted to jump up out of my chair and walk in there and start criticizing, but I didn't. And I'll tell you, this worked like a charm. I switched to gratitude. My husband is my absolute greatest supporter. Nobody in my life has ever supported me like he has. And so when I wanted to slice him with my tongue for making all of that freaking noise, I immediately went to how grateful. I thought about how much he has supported me, and it stopped me. It took me out of that wanting to criticize him for being noisy. So maybe you can keep that in mind as you go about these next 3 days, okay? Does anybody have any questions? You want me to stop for a second and answer anything before I keep going? I've got a few more minutes here to spend with you. Okay. So when you're trying to make a change, you're going to get through those first two phases. And then the third phase is actually reforming. And this is where we are implementing ways to fill that identity gap. Oh, Star Baby says, I also do this when I'm driving my kids to school in the morning. The drivers are crazy and I get upset. Oh my God, I know, right? I mean, that Carter, yes, yeah, this challenge is free. There's no upsell. I'm just doing this to connect with you all and to help you guys break some those bad habits of criticizing, condemning, and complaining, you passing my expertise along so you can get familiar with that. And then too, I mean, I'm doing the challenge too, and so you guys give me inspiration because you allow me to be your agent of change. So back to Star Baby. Oh yeah, like anytime that we get out into society, I mean, there are just freaking triggers everywhere, right? Everywhere. And traffic is definitely one of those things. And so a lot of the stuff that you're going to learn from me here today and during these, this next 3 days of this challenge will help you deal with those crazy drivers in the mornings. Because everybody's frantic. It's like we got to look at everybody, and this is hard. And I'm not from the school of thought that we have to like everybody. I don't really believe in positive thinking. I think that the way that positive thinking has been pitched historically is quite toxic. I mean, I do. And if you've been following me for any amount of time, I'm never going to tell you to think positively when you don't feel like it. I'm never going to tell you you have to like everybody. But what I will tell you is to protect your energy. and to be able to attract and create your world the way that you want it instead of living in a shit show 24/7, then you have to love everybody. And that doesn't mean associating with them. What it means is seeing them as all being from the same source. That's what it means. We're all from the same source. And when it comes right down to it, we all want the same thing. And that's to be happy, right? Joyful. That's what everybody really wants. And everybody has a different definition of that. And so we have to see people for what they are. Some people are our people, some people aren't. And those people that aren't our people, then we need to stay away from them. That way we don't criticize, condemn, and complain so much. So it all goes hand in hand, okay? Star says, people are always racing ahead of me, cutting me off. Oh, hey, Amy. How do you think? Oh, I missed your question. Do you have any mindset suggestions for imposter syndrome? So, imposter syndrome ties into exactly what we're doing here. I mean, that's a great question, because what is imposter syndrome? It's criticizing yourself. Imposter syndrome is such a mind game. It is a total, complete mind game. Because if you look at anybody who has written a #1 bestseller, or the best college professor in the world, or an established artist, or anybody that's an expert at anything, they had a learning curve. They were not always an expert, and everybody goes through trial and error. And so if you have a calling to do something, not everybody has a calling to do something. They don't. If you have a calling to do something, if you've got a burning desire to do something, then you're meant to do it. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be an expert at it right out the gate. And so imposter syndrome is nothing but a mind game. Period. It's a mind game. And it's part of self-sabotage, and it's part of that criticism. And so anytime that you feel like you're not good enough or you're not qualified to do something, then you need to remind yourself that there's a reason that you want to do it and that you're meant to do it. Okay? All right. Anything else before I keep going? Thank you, Danny. I'm glad you joined us today. Okay, so I was on the third phase of change, which is reforming. And this is when we actually implement ways to fill that identity gap. It's like I call criticism my old friend, okay? It's kind of like getting accustomed to gossip, okay? Gossip's like an old friend, right? And so it's part, if you gossip, criticize, then that's a habit. And habits are a large part of our identity. And so when I say fill the identity gap, that's what I'm talking about. Because if you ditch gossip, if you ditch criticism, complaining, condemning, all those low vibe, energetic behaviors, then what are you going to do then? Who are you, right? And so this is the phase where we take action, and we start taking action to ignite change as we go through that trial and error. And we can expect temptations to fall back into our old identity. But this is when we have opportunities to use our God-given power, which is free will. We are infinite choice makers. At any given moment in time, we can make a different choice. And if you will think about it, wherever you are today in your life, if you're satisfied with where you are, if you're dissatisfied with where you are is a direct outcome of all the choices that you've made. And so this is where mindful awareness comes into play. You always need to know that you are an infinite choice maker. You also need to be mindfully aware that whatever it is that you're feeling, you're not that feeling. It's just something you're experiencing at that moment. It's like you become the witness of the emotion versus it defining you. Does that make sense? And so when you start thinking that way and viewing things from that perspective, you're operating at a higher level of consciousness. And that's why I'm calling this the 3-day collective consciousness challenge, okay? Camilla, how do you tell people you're not interested in discussing other people to redirect a conversation? Jesus, that's a tough one. So, what I have learned over the years is when we make a commitment to not engage in things like that, gossip, talking badly about people, then our energy, our energetic vibe is going to be focused on something else. And that something else is usually something uplifting versus something that brings us down. And so when we raise our vibe, then we're matched to people that behave the same. Like the people that are in my inner circle right now, they don't talk about other people. They talk about success. They talk about good things. They talk about things that are uplifting. They don't sit around bashing other people. Now, there are going to be times when you are going to have conversations about people that aren't great or positive or whatever. I mean, that's just part of life. It's going to happen. It's just keeping that to a bare minimum and resist the urge. Just resist the urge when you're really tempted to, as I say, slice someone with your tongue. Just resist that urge. And that's part of this breaking the habit of engaging in the 3 C's, the criticizing, condemning, and complaining, because all that ties into gossip too. Because what are we doing when we gossip about somebody? We're criticizing somebody else. We're condemning them, right? Oh yeah, and when you're around family, especially with holidays around the corner, you really have to set boundaries. Like I have to set boundaries with people, and you don't have to draw a bunch of attention to yourself. There is absolute magic in changing the subject and just doing what you can in that moment to not fall victim to that type of behavior. You can listen. You can listen and try to stick with the facts. This is also like my snob method. Search for new objective beliefs instead of expressing an opinion. Opinions aren't right or wrong. They're just that. They're opinions. And so my opinion doesn't really matter because my opinion is relative. And so when you're in those conversations, try to stick with the facts. And if you really find yourself cornered by someone, there's power in just listening and not really having to say anything. And you can always change the subject. Always. I do this all the time with my mother. Amy says, I try to say something positive and just change the subject or just excuse myself if needed. Yeah, just get the hell out of there if you have to. There are ways around it, and you got to really not get so wrapped up in what people think. Because if you have to excuse yourself or you change the subject or whatever, you're extending kindness. You're not making anybody feel lesser than. You're extending kindness while guarding your energy. You're not hurting that other person. You're not hurting them at all. You've just decided to not engage, and that is your right to do that. And there are ways to do that discreetly. You don't have to be mean about it. You can still extend kindness to somebody and disengage. Then Star says, yes, mine is a friend from high school. Always she's the victim. Well, and I have to say too, when our energetic vibration rises, the people around us, they're going to change. They're going to leave. And so if you stop engaging with someone like that, they're going to move on to somebody else, because what they're after is your energy, and what they're after is they're trying to convince you. They're just being adamant about convincing you to believe the way they feel about another person. And really, that's kind of childish in a way, but that's at the root of gossip and criticizing, condemning, and complaining. And so if you stop playing into that, then she, you may not hear from her as much. And that's not always a bad thing. You got to get with your people. And if you don't want to gossip anymore, then, that's your intuition saying, hey, you might want to find a new group of people. And I love the saying that if you always have to be the bigger person, then maybe you're around the wrong people. So I would keep that in mind. Oh, hey, there's a lucky me. I've never seen you live because I don't go live a whole lot, but I'm going to start doing that more often because people are asking me to. And I do enjoy it. It's just a time thing. It's like the day gets away from me and I'm like, damn it, I meant to do that. So I'm going to make this more of a priority because it keeps me inspired too. I love talking and connecting with you guys. I really, really do. Oh, I know about that. She says, I have always given positive words and encouragement. She skips right over it, keeps complaining. Yeah, that's an asshole. That's what it is. I mean, stop being available. If you talk to her and it doesn't get under your skin, keep talking to her or listening to her. You can listen and keep your language as self-empowering as possible. But if she gets under your skin and she steals your energy, become unavailable. Seriously. There is magic in becoming unavailable. And you can discreetly, very kindly shoot a text and say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't talk on the phone tonight. I've got X, Y, and Z going on. I hope all is well. I'll talk to you soon. Stuff like that. Unavailable. There's nothing wrong with that. Love your energy. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Help. I'm so jealous. How do I deal with this? Yeah, I used to be a very, very jealous person too. But what I want you to know is jealousy is really misdirected. And I figured this out years ago because, and I consider jealousy as an interchangeable term with hate, but it's misdirected. Jealousy is misdirected. When we're jealous of someone, it's because we want what they have, or we feel like that we might be more deserving than they are. It's like, why do they have it and I don't? When you feel that way, just know that whatever it is that you want, you are meant to have that, okay? If somebody else has it, then they have usually put in the work to get it or something of that nature. There's no need to be jealous of them. Learn from them. Learn from them. And if you are so eaten alive that and I'm not judging here. I used to be a very, very jealous person. I was terrible because I was brought up to be jealous. I was taught, I was socialized to despise anybody that had more than me. I was taught to think that God blessed some people more than others, and maybe I just wasn't one of those people. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. That is not the truth. We're all on equal playing ground here. And so when you feel yourself being jealous of somebody, if you can't control it, then you need to really stay away from that person. But I strongly suggest that you take a look at yourself and figure out what it is that you really want and see what you can do to get it and see how you can learn from that person that you're jealous of. That's how I flipped it all around and was able to become actually grateful for the people that I was jealous of because they were some of my greatest teachers. I can be jealous of Jennifer Lopez all day long. I'm 46. I think she's like freaking 52 at this point, and she looks absolutely incredible. But am I willing to do everything that she does to look like that? No, I'm not. So why be jealous of her? I just learned from her, right? So real quick, I will wrap up the information I've got here about our 3-day collective consciousness challenge. Eventually, if you stick with this, and this is going to go past 72 hours, okay? Fourth and final stage is called full flight. And when we reach full flight, our new identity is stable at that point. We are less likely to fall back into old behaviors and the stuff that takes us back to that old identity. But it takes time to get here, and it absolutely depends on the person. And so be patient with yourself and be kind with yourself, because whatever bad habits that all of us have, it's just like I used to be a very jealous person, and not nearly as bad as I used to be with the criticism. I'm absolutely not jealous of anybody anymore, and I say that with all honesty. But the criticism continues to creep back in, and it's just because I spent, I mean, good God, I can remember as far back as 4 and 5 years old, I'm not joking, criticizing people because that's how everybody around me behaved. I mean, our agents of socialization, those are the people that can really do a number on us. And so I was taught to behave that way. And so that's why I'm gentle with myself and kind with myself when I fall back into that trap, and I keep trying to interrupt that pattern. You know, that's how you interrupt it. It's not that I am never ever again going to criticize somebody or be tempted to do it, because that's absolutely going to happen. The key is to not do it every single day of my life, and the key is for that to not be my go-to behavior. Okay, I need to, we all need to replace that complaining, condemning, and criticizing with behaviors that serve us well instead of disempower us, and be painfully, mindfully aware that when we engage in the 3 C's, we're not doing anything to the person we're complaining or condemning or criticizing. We're doing nothing to them at all, period. We're giving energy to 3 behaviors that rip us apart and make our lives crumble and attract in stupid stuff that we don't want. Could you do content on how to maintain flight stage and not fall back to the unconscious past? Are you talking about fight or flight? Is that what you're talking about? If I understand your question correctly, the best way, okay, so like everyday hassles, like sitting in traffic, or no, I meant the state of the new identity. Oh yeah, okay. Oh no, you're good. You're good. I'm on the right track with your answer anyway. So like when we're out and about in daily activity and we're aggravated by traffic, people, long lines, it's pouring the rain, stuff like that. It's those daily hassles that cause chronic stress. And so that's what causes us to go back to those unconscious behaviors that we learned usually in childhood. And the absolute best way to interrupt that and replace those with, well, new patterns, behaviors of service is through meditation. I mean, meditation is the key. I meditate 2 times a day. And each time we meditate, we release stress, which means we are releasing toxins and inflammation from our bodies. And so if that we don't allow that stress to accumulate, then we're gonna be way less likely to fall back into those subconscious behaviors that we learned so many years ago that are just buried deep in there. And meditation will help us release those. Without meditation, I wouldn't be where I am today. I know that for a fact. And if you're ever interested in learning meditation, I am a Chopra certified meditation instructor. And so if you're ever interested in being trained in meditation, just shoot me an email, or you can message me on here, or you can visit my website. You can contact me through there as well. It's paulaswope.com. All of my contact information is in my link tree here on my profile, so I'm easy to find. So Sandy is stress. I live at the Motel 6 in Florida. They spray poison. They're going so fast. Seeing you live, thank you. Oh, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for participating in the challenge and for being here today. I told them if they could go 3 days without 3 C's and they'd get $20. See, there you go. That's how you do it. Got to give an incentive, right? Got to give kids an incentive. But for us adults, our incentive is wealth and perfect health and all those great things that kids aren't necessarily thinking about right now. Somebody should have taught me this in kindergarten. Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much. Meditation actually is the best medicine. It absolutely is. And I am studying to be an Ayurveda lifestyle coach with Deepak Chopra. I've completed the first two legs of the certification. I'm on the third one right now. And according to Ayurveda, meditation is one of the 6 pillars of health. I mean, people who meditate live longer. They're healthier. They're wealthier. The science is there to back up every claim that I'm making here. When is the next course to sign up? So go to my website, and I have a bunch of coaching packages on there. They're all under the shop tab, but what Amy was just referring to is I have 2 manifestation challenges, okay? One of them is a 30-day manifestation challenge, and it's more for the beginner. You get a lesson via email every day for 30 days, but it's not date oriented. You can go at your own pace. Then I have a 7-day thought snob challenge. And that one's all about spiritual growth as well and manifestation, but it's for the more advanced spiritualist. But really, anybody can follow along with either one, regardless like what level you're at. And so when you join those challenges, the 30-day is $37. The 7-day is $27. So I removed every barrier to participation that anybody could think of, because it's virtual, it's not date oriented, you go at your own pace, and it's super affordable. And so that's what the courses are that Amy was referring to. Now, when you enroll in one of the challenges, you get lifetime access to anything that I do, any virtual workshops or whatever takes place with those challenges. And you also get access to a private Facebook group. And in that Facebook group, that's where your manifestation buddies are. It's just like another built-in support system. Alumni act as manifestation mentors, because a lot of the exercises require you to have a manifestation buddy to play along. And so you get all of that with just your one-time fee. And I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm just sharing information because you guys asked me questions. So, well, okay. Oh, good. You should do the snob challenge. And you actually, with that snob challenge, learn a form of primordial sound meditation. With that challenge, you learn a meditation that you can use for the rest of your life. And so it's like for $27, I mean, the average fee to get trained in primordial sound meditation is anywhere from about $500 to $1,000, depending on which training that you want, because you're actually assigned your own mantra. Now, in my 7-day challenge, you're not assigned your own mantra. So I'm able to offer that to you for free. But you learn a form of primordial sound meditation using a universal mantra. And you can use that for the rest of your life. If you want to take it a step further, then you can get the training. And so, I mean, you get an enormous bang for your buck with both challenges, okay? Well, I would have never found you without TikTok. Right. Like, I love this app. It's absolutely my favorite social media platform out there. The universal mantra is so hum, SOHUM, and that's a Sanskrit mantra that actually causes things to manifest. And then if you get trained in primordial sound meditation, I calculate your personal mantra based on the time of your birth, not conception, but when you actually came out of the womb, time of your birth, place of your birth, and date of birth. And I put that into a Vedic calculator, and it calculates your mantra. And your mantra is the sound that the universe was making at the time of your birth. It's so freaking cool. And this is a practice that is absolutely backed by science. The health benefits are astronomical. And so the universe makes sounds, 108 sounds to be exact. And so the universe was making a sound when you were born. And so when you use that mantra to meditate, it's a silent mantra, it takes you back to your true essence, and things, you start to stir up some stuff because who you truly are probably isn't who you are today. You know, there's something that you're doing that you're probably not supposed to be doing, or you're not meant to do, or you're engaging in something that isn't serving you well and blocking you from the good stuff. And so that's the point of doing primordial sound meditation. It's to take you back to your true essence. But the most important thing about that form of meditation to me, and this is why I've made such a big investment in it, and it's backed by science, you can look it up, it releases inflammation from the body. And inflammation is at the root cause of nearly every disease known to man. And if we don't release that inflammation, it will manifest into chronic disease at some point. And so primordial sound meditation is a great strategy to get into better health. There's no doubt about that. And I've got a lot of information on my website about the benefits of using primordial sound meditation every single day. If you see double digits, will it be the same? Okay, clarify that just a little bit. I'm not sure that I understand your question. Might as well stir up things as my high self. You're exactly right. My numbers are not always the same. I see 2-1, 2-2 all the time. Yeah, they won't always be the same, because our needs and our wants change. And as our needs and our wants change, then we need to be guided with different guidance, different wisdom as our needs and wants change. And so that, yeah, of course those numbers are going to change over time. Yes, I'm in the USA. I'm in the state of Kentucky, if you can't tell by listening to me. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to close out. I've got about 5 minutes before my next appointment. But I'm so glad. I was born in Kentucky, now in Virginia. That's great, Tia. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, I'm going to have to close out, but I will be back soon. Visit my website if you want to know more about me and my work. I've got a free newsletter that comes out every month around the 15th, and it's always packed full of easy to use spiritual tools that you can use and practice with for the rest of your life. And so you can subscribe to that on my website. And if you don't follow me and you like my style, please give me a follow and check out my videos on my profile. There's a ton of them on there, and they're all dedicated to spiritual practices, manifestation, self-empowerment, you name it. So I'm easy to find. I loved being with you all today. I truly, honestly wish that I could stay longer. But again, I've got an appointment, so I've got to run. But I will see you all very soon.